All right. So full disclosure, when you sent over that article, The Science of Happiness,
Uh-huh.
I kind of thought, okay, here comes the sunshine and rainbows.
Huh.
You know me, though. I'm always up for a good challenge.
Right.
And, diving deep into this whole happiness thing, it's going to be a challenge, right?
Yeah.
But we're going to unpack it all.
Yeah.
Not just, try to figure out what happiness is, but like, how can our listeners actually use this stuff, apply it in their lives?
I think you'll find some of it pretty surprising, actually.
Really?
The science, yeah.
Okay, hit me.
For instance, did you know that like 40% of our happiness level is actually determined by the things we do?
Get out.
It's not all just, your genes or just your circumstances.
Seriously. 40%.
Yeah,
That's a huge chunk.
it is.
I am officially intrigued. Let's do this thing.
Okay.
Okay, so basics first. When we say happiness, what are we even talking about?
It's actually not just one thing.
Oh,
Yeah, think of it as like two sides of the same coin.
all right, I'm listening.
So you've got what's called hedonic happiness, which is basically all about pleasure, enjoyment. Like
correct.
that first sip of coffee in the morning
Sure.
or, listening to your favorite song,
Okay, yeah,
that kind of thing.
I get that.
Yeah.
So what's the other side of the coin then?
So that's called eudaimonic happiness. And this one's more about like meaning and purpose.
Uh-huh.
It's less about that like instant gratification and more about a deep sense of fulfillment.
Okay.
So, think of it like, that feeling you get when you finally master a really difficult skill. Like, maybe speaking English fluently.
Oh, see, now you're speaking my language.
Yeah.
But like, how does that translate into lasting happiness?
Okay, so picture this. You achieve a big goal, right?
Okay.
Let's say it's, that promotion you've been working towards.
Yeah.
You finally get it. Boom. There's that, like, initial rush of hedonic happiness.
Right.
But then what? A lot of times, we just set a new goal, and then the whole cycle just starts over again.
Yeah.
Eudaimonic happiness, though, that's different. It's really rooted in, like, who you are and what you contribute to the world, It's less about chasing external things and more about living a life that, like, aligns with your values.
Okay. Starting to get it.
Yeah.
So it's not about being like some kind of pleasure-seeking robot or a 247 do-gooder.
Exactly. You need both. Both types of happiness are important, but research has actually found that, that eudaimonic happiness tends to stick around longer.
Oh, interesting.
And it leads to, like, a deeper sense of satisfaction overall.
That makes sense. Okay, so we've talked about definitions. Let's talk about some of the myths.
Oh, yeah?
I love busting myths.
Yeah.
I'm all about it. So this article talked about the whole I'll be happy when trap.
Yeah.
I think we've all fallen into that one at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the idea that, happiness is this thing we're going to achieve in the future.
Right.
Once we get that perfect job, once we find the perfect partner, buy the dream house, whatever it is. But the reality is, happiness isn't a destination.
Right.
It's more about finding those little joys and meaning in, like, the present moment.
It's funny. I remember reading somewhere that, like, lottery winners often end up no happier than they were before.
Yeah.
Is that related to this whole destination happiness thing?
100%. It totally is. It really shows that just those external circumstances, right?
Yeah.
While they might bring, like, some temporary joy, they don't actually guarantee any kind of lasting happiness.
Fascinating.
And, another big misconception is that happiness, like, equals constant positivity, and trying to force yourself to be happy all the time. It can kind of backfire.
Oh, that's a relief to hear.
Yeah.
So it's okay to acknowledge the not so happy feelings too.
Oh, absolutely. It's about embracing the full, like, spectrum of human emotions.
Yeah.
Those quote unquote negative emotions like sadness, anger, frustration.
Yeah.
They can actually be valuable signals. Like, they can tell us that something needs to change.
That's interesting.
And if you try and, like, suppress them, it can actually just make them stronger.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've tackled definitions.
Yeah.
We've tackled myths. Now let's get into, like, the real science here.
Let's do it.
What about this whole happiness set point thing?
Okay, this is where it gets pretty interesting. Research actually suggests that about 50% of our, like, baseline happiness level is determined by our genes.
What?
Yeah, it's like we're each kind of born with a happiness thermostat.
So are we saying, like, half of our happiness is basically pre-programmed?
In a sense, yeah.
That doesn't leave much wiggle room, does it?
Not so fast. Remember those actions we talked about before?
Oh, right.
That account for 40%?
Yeah.
That means that we still have a huge amount of power to actually, like, influence our happiness level.
Okay.
And here's the real little part. Our brains are super adaptable. Like through intentional effort and practices, like mindfulness, for example,
Yeah.
we can actually rewire our neural pathways and kind of shift that set point over time.
Hold on. Rewire our brains.
Yeah.
This is starting to sound like science fiction.
I know, right? But think about it like this. Every time we do something, like a positive habit,
Okay.
like expressing gratitude or practicing kindness, we're actually strengthening those neural connections in our brain.
Wow.
It's like building a muscle, but, for happiness.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into some of these happiness habits.
Yeah, let's do it.
What are some things that we can actually do to boost our happiness level?
So the article highlighted like 4 main areas.
Okay.
Mindfulness, relationships, exercise, and sleep.
Okay, I like it. Let's break it down one by one. Okay, mindfulness. So I've tried this before, right? But I got to be honest.
Yeah.
I find it so hard to quiet my mind.
It's tough.
It's really tough.
Yeah.
Any tips for like a mindfulness beginner?
Totally. So it definitely takes practice.
Okay.
But even just like a few minutes a day can actually make a big difference.
Really?
Yeah. And the key is to just like focus on your breath and just notice your thoughts and feelings without judgment,
Right. Yeah.
It's like hitting the pause button on that constant like mental chatter.
So it's not about like emptying your mind completely.
Okay.
It's more about just like becoming aware of what's going on up there.
Exactly. And studies have actually shown that, mindfulness can reduce anxiety,
Wow.
improve your focus, and even like boost your immune system.
Seriously?
Yeah, it's like a mental workout for happiness.
Okay, I'm willing to give it another go. What about relationships then?
Okay, yeah. So I think we all know that spending time with people we love makes us feel good.
Of course.
But what's the science behind that?
Yeah, right.
Well, humans are social creatures.
Right.
We need that connection, that sense of belonging.
Yeah.
And studies have shown that people with like strong social connections,
Yeah.
they tend to be happier, they tend to be healthier, and they even tend to live longer.
Whoa, that's crazy. So it's not just about like feeling good in the moment. It's actually impacting our physical health as well.
It is. It is.
Wow. That's got me thinking, in your research, did you find like any surprising findings about this link between relationships and happiness?
One thing that I found really interesting is that it's not just the quantity of relationships that matter.
Okay, great.
It's the quality. Even just having a few close, supportive relationships can have like a huge impact on your well-being.
That makes total sense. It's about those like deep, meaningful connections.
Right.
Not just like having a ton of superficial acquaintances.
Exactly.
All right, next up, exercise. I know, it's good for you.
Yeah.
But sometimes, the couch is just calling my name.
Oh, I hear you. But even small amounts of exercise, right,
Yeah.
can make a huge difference in your mood
Doesn't
because
matter.
when we move our bodies, our brain releases these things called endorphins,
Oh, yeah.
which have like mood boosting effects.
Right.
And you don't have to run a marathon or anything to get these benefits.
Okay. Right.
Just a brisk walk, a dance class, even just some stretching, it can really make a difference.
Right. Every little bit helps.
Yeah.
I actually find that going for walks in nature really helps clear my head.
Oh, nice.
All right, last but not least, we've got to talk about sleep.
Yes.
This is one I definitely struggle with. I'm a total night owl.
So you're part of the Sleep is for the Weak club.
Maybe.
But honestly, chronic sleep deprivation can really do a number on like your mood, your energy levels,
Yeah.
even your ability to think clearly. You got to think of sleep as like recharging your brain and body.
You're making me feel guilty about all those late nights now.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so what's like the ideal amount of sleep we should be aiming for?
Most adults need, around 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep every night.
Okay.
And it's not just about how much sleep you get, but the quality of that sleep too. So make sure your bedroom is cool, dark, and quiet. And try to stick to a regular sleep schedule, even on the weekends.
All right. Solid advice. I'll try my best. Okay. This article also mentioned a couple of other things that I thought were interesting.
Yeah.
It touched on like these cultural concepts of happiness, like the Scandinavian hig
Yes.
and the Japanese ikigai.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit more about those?
Totally. So it's fascinating how like different cultures have different ways of thinking about and cultivating happiness.
Right.
So hig is all about creating this sense of like coziness, warmth, and contentment.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, it's about enjoying those simple pleasures, right? Like a warm cup of tea on a rainy day, spending time with loved ones, or creating a comfortable atmosphere in your home.
Ah, that sounds so lovely. I could definitely use a little more hygge in my life.
Yeah.
What about ikigai then?
Ikigai is a little different. It's more about finding your purpose in life.
Oh, yeah.
That sweet spot where your like passions, your skills, and your values all kind of intersect.
Right, right.
It's a thing that like gets you out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
Makes you feel like your life has meaning.
That really resonates with me. I think learning English, for me, is a big part of my ikigai.
Awesome.
You know, it opens up so many possibilities for connecting with people from all over the world, exploring new cultures,
Yeah.
just expanding my understanding of the world.
Yeah, I love that.
And it definitely makes me happy.
Absolutely. And you know what? The actual process of learning
Yeah,
can be a source of happiness too.
sure.
It challenges us, it helps us grow, gives us that sense of accomplishment.
This whole deep dive has honestly been so eye-opening. So to sum it all up, it sounds like happiness isn't this like elusive dream.
Yeah.
It's something that we can actually cultivate through our choices and our actions.
Exactly. It's about building those positive habits,
Right.
nurturing the relationships in our lives, and really finding meaning and purpose.
Amazing. So listeners, here's a final thought for you. What's one small thing you can do this week to boost your happiness?
Good question.
Maybe it's trying that 5-minute mindfulness exercise, or maybe it's calling up a friend you haven't spoken to in a while, or hey, maybe it's just going to bed an hour earlier tonight. Remember, even small steps can make a big difference in the long run. You got this.
Absolutely.
And that's it for this deep dive into the science of happiness. Until next time.
See ya. Bye-bye.